because
There,
that'll
it's
just
good
review
enough for now.
everything.
Okay, good enough.
Client project manager. So this is where we have the other customer that we don't have, that we removed, the PM saying how far we've gone along on a project, and they have to be able to say, use our system, whatever it is, to call up a client, say that it doesn't look like you're going to make your deadline, or we don't have enough budget to do everything that you want. Do you want to cut features, or do you want to add budget, right? So that's where you would have your burn down charts and all that other stuff for project managers, and all of that stuff. So I think we use that as a product. I think it stays here with Jira or something, right?
I think you're right, Adam. And I think, just to point out, we just missed a need. The consultancy has a need to review progress with the client. And we forgot to draw that. They use a project manager, they might use the business, but it doesn't really matter. The consultancy needs to actually show.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we have progress. I think your dot is, there's a dot missing at the top.
Yeah. So what's the need that progress reporting services? Maybe it's progress reporting, and then we'll draw the dot at the top and we'll connect them.
Yeah.
So what is
Let's do that for now. We can probably find a better name for it. I definitely think it's a commodity.
Or product, maybe. Everyone doesn't do it the same, so it's probably just choose your product.
Well, I think the management part is a product. I think it's pretty universal for the need.
Yeah, the need is universal.
That's why I want to have two. I think that's a good idea, Rick, because we have two dots.
Yeah.
Right, so, and that makes that distinction of what we're talking about, whereas having one thing wouldn't address it,
and
right?
So, from my point of view, is like when I'm doing status updating with the client, is there a standard way everyone does it, or do we just choose, depending on which product I use, that's what I use, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I think that's where it's kind of more in the product side, that status updates, since you just drew it.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm happy with this. We can go on to.
So I would say, like, depending on which project management software you use, you do it differently. But
okay, I see what you're saying. I think because the only reason I want to put it on the right side and keep the project manager solution piece down below in that space is because I can have a phone call with someone and say, how's that project going? That's a very commodity thing to be doing, right?
Custom.
Phone calls custom.
That's custom?
Yeah.
So, okay, so the phone call...
I mean, the need is universal.
The phone call itself is universal, but the communication that happens during the phone call is custom.
What about the need for having status updates?
But what do you mean by status updates?
Like, do we have enough budget to finish the project?
So, okay, so here's the thing. The question, is the project going okay? Is probably commodity utility stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have enough budget? Is commodity utility stuff. What has happened is custom built.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that requires elaborate answer, which will be different for every customer and for every situation.
So
yeah. So I'm just gonna copy this other circle here.
Adam, for the needs at top, you're crossing the streams, I think, on the map.
Okay.
Left to right is the way we do it, complete commodity or custom. And then the size of the circle we chose to draw, if it's a big circle, it's an important need. Everyone's got it. If it's a small circle, it's not that important.
Okay, well, okay, so Rick, why don't you place it where you think it needs to be?
So what I'm saying is, it's an important need, that's fine, but regardless of the size of the need or how important it is, I think any one of these most people just use a product for it, whether they use project management software or Excel. It's choose your product. That thing has a standard format and you share based on that. So that would be choose your product, and so it's late stage product, right? There's not a lot of innovation going on there. It's just reporting.
Yeah,
right?
Okay. Cool. I'm happy with that.
Tax reporting. That was good. We can tackle it next.
I think we did talk about tax reporting. I think we left off at client management.
Okay.
And then client payment status. So that's different. That's financial, like financial accountant kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I guess that's a question is depends what you mean by that circle. If you just mean your standard accounting package, or do you mean like the thing, have they paid for this slice of work? Or have they paid for the hours that this person billed, right? Like,
I think it's,
which
yeah.
one do you mean?
I think it means which invoices have they paid? Because sometimes you're, especially in COVID times, you're lagging quite a few invoices behind as your clients are catching up, and it happens to a lesser extent during regular business. So it's about tracking what your, if your clients paid up.
So basically, which invoices are paid?
Well, it's yeah, because it's billing clients is
right.
It's not directly connected to billing clients, which is right, because the status comes off of other things. So
right, and so
they are indirectly related, I guess.
Okay.
So is this custom? I think we can leave it there for now.
Is it custom, or is it just kind of you pick your product and use it?
Do
you have an invoicing software that you normally use?
I guess
your accountant has.
Yeah.
Reconciling accounts.
Or we just use Excel. So I think it belongs on a product side. It's just not ours. We just use some integration for it.
I'm trying to move it, but it's.
I got it already. Let me see if I can do it. Let's see if I can do it. No, that's not what I wanted. I thought I had it, but
the rat's nest in there.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, it is. So.
Okay.
Okay, it's very odd that it doesn't. Okay, maybe I'll just grab the writing. There we go. That's better. Okay. I was trying to grab the dots, but there was just so many lines over it. Okay, so that's okay there. Support billing detailed questions. I think that. Where's that?
I think we have considered that, and we have put it in the custom build space because if you get into the talk or dispute with your customer, no two cases will be the same. You may have a system that support or case support system, which goes into the customer management system, or general support or case management system. But all those details and questions, they will be different each time. So I don't know I actually don't know how to represent it properly, because there is no way you can standardize it for any customer, because obviously questions will be different each time.
Yeah, they'll be related to their domains. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, will you even have a solution built for this, or just use your existing stuff? Like, is it more in the Genesis side where just like kind of, there's not even a solution for it. It's just ad hoc.
I wouldn't put it on the Genesis side because it's not novel. I mean, people do this.
Is it just ad hoc though?
I think it's just custom. It's well known enough, and no one has a true answer that's a product that you can buy to solve this. I mean, there is, I guess the only thing I can draw as a parallel is that a lot of times you have, Zendesk or something for support on a website, but that's barely scratching that. Yeah. That's just a system to facilitate communication. It's not actually solving the problem of providing the information for that.
This is a good question. Let's just assume for a second that yes, I have a supporting set, but when it comes to like I have a billing question, how they answer that billing question, there's no piece of software that they've even customized. Let's assume for a second there's just an ad hoc process. The person goes around, finds the right answer from accountant or whatever. So this is a good. How do we map an ad hoc process? Let's say
it's custom.
Custom. I mean, that's the definition of custom, ad hoc.
Well, custom built versus not built at all, right? It's just figure away each time, right? That's what
manual processes, I think, are just custom, right?
It's custom.
I think It also can be like Chris, you said, it can be like augmented as well. So when you take in the products, for example, Zendesk, which just solves part of the problem, so it probably will be between custom build and product then, somewhere in between.
Right.
That's an interesting thing. So like you have inputs at the bottom, you could have communication mechanisms to have
using part of tools, exactly, part of tools from Zendesk and part of tools you custom build.
Yeah, so we could definitely, you know, move something like this into here. Obviously I'll just shrink it down and have a couple of dots, you know, Zendesk and a you know, change the name.
And this may require a little bit more thinking about what do you want to actually do in this space and what is possible to do. Because I had a chance to prepare a map together with a gas company that was selling gas to domestic to people in the United Kingdom. And they had like 17 different providers, which they were switching in almost real time. And they had a department for handling disputes. And disputes happened pretty often because when you changed a gas provider from one to another, they've not always reacted in time. And sometimes something was built twice. So what they have figured out is they've trained a number of people in doing investigations of what went wrong. Those people each time did the investigation slightly different, but overall, they were people trained in doing investigations, so there was some kind of a standard. And they thought it's a utility process because they have people who do it in a pretty reputable way. Right? And the question was whether they can or cannot automate it, and they said they cannot automate it because of all those differences. Which basically rendered the whole component to be in the custom build space. Right? It wasn't commodity utility. Despite they had all the tools that supported their investigations, it was in the custom build space because it was different each time. And they couldn't codify it.
I'm just going to put activity report here.
Yeah.
Which is part of our custom build, and Zendesk as giving us two solutions, at least for now. Just as I think it's a good thing to mark that this type of, I like this idea of offering, you know, the integration of multiple sources of a solution for a capability that you've identified. I think it's quite good because out of these squares, that really gives us an identification of integration projects, which you can then budget for and analyze further.
So, yeah. So I think we've got through all of the dots that are on here.
Yeah, the next part is the last part is the visibility, right? The last part is the visibility.
So, no, visibility we did already.
Are you sure? Does it not change?
Visibility is just an auxiliary axis. You can delete it. You have customer needs on the top and chain of dependencies, and you don't need anything else.
So this axis is really not as important as the left to right axis.
No.
Okay,
I mean, yes, you are right.
Yeah, once you have the chain of dependencies, then you don't need it as much. I think the chain of dependencies is stronger. But what I see is missing from this map is what Adam's mentioned what we've mentioned a few times, and that is, and maybe it's on there and I just clued out again, this concept of for the consultants, right, that we have working for us, they need to understand, and we need to provide them which of the work, like a reconciliation of which of the work that they have billed us has been paid for. So there's this reconciliation reporting for us to support them. Because we don't bill them when they bill us, we don't pay them when they bill us the work, we pay them when the client's paid, right? So there's a reconciliation reporting for the consultant that we need to put on here. That's core to our business.
Yeah, well, hold on a second.
I'm not paying you because the customer.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we do have something
So-
missing from the consultant. So let's look
So-
up everything. So there's consultant cash flow reporting. Is that gonna be enough
Maybe
to
that's what
support
it
that?
covered, right?
I think that's where we were thinking, because we did ask this briefly last time, that we went over some of this.
So maybe it's covered in that.
I think it would be. Do we want to rename that piece then to be a little bit more or better organized in terms of what it encompasses?
But I guess maybe there's a need for us as a consultancy to provide reconciliation. Like we have over the client, we've got billing the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to provide reconciliation to our consultants.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a need there, right?
Yeah.
So we need to know, A, for ourselves, do I owe them money, right? And B, then I can show them, right? So how much do I owe this person, right?
Yeah.
That's not, that reconciliation report need for us isn't on there. And that would connect to consulting cash flow reporting.
Yeah. Where would we put that though? I mean, we can put it on there. We can revisit it, but if you think it's missing, we should definitely have it on there.
It's a need to our business to provide, and I'll put it.
So is it a need? Because right, it's kind of the equivalent of the status update. Is that what you're saying? For the client, it's kind of a status update for the consultant, because their only status that they're interested in is really about getting paid. That's their status, is how up to date are they in getting paid.
I'm just gonna explain it in a big long word, and I don't know what to call it. Provide reconciliation for consultants, money owed versus customers paid, right? We need to do that as a business.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
That, I guess, connects to this consulting cash flow reporting.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's good enough, I think. And then that explains what this cash flow reporting is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good and complete. And I'm glad, Chris, that you answered the question about the vertical piece of the Wardley map, about its importance. And I'm guessing as you're starting out, you just use that vertical axis to really try and organize the chain of dependency. I can't do this without this type of thing, right? Which is why you raised the recording time above the inputs in terms of vertical alignment, right? Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, it makes sense. These guidelines are really helpful, so that when people are using the map, they understand what the pattern and thought process is when you're looking at these things and reading them. So that's really good. Okay, well, we got 10 minutes left. So I wanted to first of all thank Chris for taking his time to share his experience and expertise in doing this, and we'll do our utter best to use this map to correlate it to our actual effort, and perhaps it'll be something that Chris can also use to give some more teeth to the practice for people that ask the hard questions about implementation. That there is communities out there that are taking the Wardley map and tying it to concrete efforts to give some good metrics on what some of those decisions are, such as identifying these inputs and really getting something with more substance, such as timelines and budgets, to what it means when someone moves something on the Wardley map or introduces something on the Wardley map. They have more work to base, more data to base those decisions on, to see what they're, what certain things happen with certain types of integrations. So thank you very much. This has been absolutely fantastic. And it's nice to find complementary practices, right? Where I think when I was introducing this, my first instinct was that, wow, this is a practice that doesn't step on the toes of the other one and doesn't overlap tremendously, so that one is making a lot of things redundant from the other. It's really nice to find such synergies and compatibilities between separate practices in what we do every day. So this is another really good complementary thing. I think it's, it really solidifies that bridge between business and tech it has a complete answer from the boardroom perspective,
So
which I think we were missing. I think we were looking at things in the business perspective and the UX UI at the design level with event modeling. This is entirely top down from strategy for an entire organization, that gives that really good agenda to what happens in boardrooms, no matter the size of company.
Adam.
Yeah.
Question. While we have Chris here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's getting short on time. I want to make sure, because in the vein of what you were asking for is that connection, right? Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we've put the Wardley map, we've shown the things left to right. We've kind of matched the as-is system. We put some red arrows on there, but we haven't gone complete. So before, like, what I'm going to ask Chris for is, before his recommendations would be, before we dive into let's spec out the system, what would the next steps be on this Wardley map to say, okay, now we know how to shape that spec out the system?
Oh, okay. So that's my favorite question, actually. So you start with doing the analysis of the broader value chain, not just this one, but with a bigger one, to understand what you will be changing for your customers. And the output should be that the needs that you are addressing are the most important needs for the customer right now. Right? In this case, in the case of this map, this is the assumption that those are the needs that the customer will take. Actually, that those needs matter to your customers. All right. So if you have this map, what I would do, I would first try to verify whether those needs are really important for your customers, whether they are willing to pay for any improvements in this system, and then I would try to evaluate which of those red arrows have a potential to be materialized, because sometimes there may be not enough of knowledge. Sometimes there may be too high variation, like for example, with phone calls. It may be very difficult to standardize phone calls and turn them into products. They have to remain custom built, right? And then I would think about how much time and money do I have, and which of the value propositions may be the most important for the customer. And after that, I would try to spec the system.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing that talks about that last divide. And I think I don't think we clarified that last piece that we left on, which is the customer needs, right? Because this is what we're going to be talking about here. I think I did this before. Is it helpful to put, just a, oops, shoot, let me try this. Put this, some sort of a line up here to differentiate, or identify customer needs versus the part of the solution. Take a look at that, Chris, if that blue line helps visualize.
It does help.
Yeah, so that when people look at it, it's like, okay, these are the 5 things we're gonna provide. And then down below, it's how we're gonna provide them.
Yes,
or which pieces make up part of the potential solution that we're gonna either buy pieces of, implement, or whatever.
Yep.
All right, good. Well, at least I contributed something to the Wardley map. I'm sure others have done this before.
So basically, I got your 3 steps, Chris, which is verify the assumptions of the needs, right, with real customers, right? And then look at which red arrows have potentially materialized, right?
Yep.
And then how much time and money we have to spend. What I'm hearing behind that, if I get it correctly, is our goal is to talk about which areas will we choose to focus on first, really getting down to that decision point, and understanding enough of what is our hypothesis around how doing that will impact which customer needs. Like, I believe, and we could, if we could get to we should measurably, if we do this, we will measurably impact this need in this way. If we can get to that, those 3 steps are about getting us to answer that question. We're going to focus here, and I can actually tell you right now, if I measure this today by saying you spend 12 hours a month doing that, you're going to spend 1 hour a month. I think that's our metric. So that's really how we can measurably reduce the pain. We should be able to create a hypothesis.
Yes.
if we get to that point, we've done those pre-work. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think one important principle, also what you mentioned about Pareto. So probably, of course, you can infinitively, reduce pain, but it probably at some point of it will be make no sense. For example, if you take minute and second, it probably will be make no sense anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you can. There's other things you could use to derive
yes,
value,
you can invest
such
money
as,
into other.
yeah, you could say that we're just doing things different, and that's enough for people from the marketing department to sell it better.
It might be less annoying, or it might just be like it costs them less money. We can do this for, once they use our system, instead of paying thousands of dollars, they're paying hundreds of dollars. That's.
I think that was one of the biggest takeaways for me this session with Chris was looking at how, we're looking at making something custom for the sake of just giving marketing something to play with and sell. So that's an entirely interesting angle, which happens all the time with the Starbucks example and whatever. That's, if you apply it to what we do in the software industry, wow, there's a lot of possibilities that open up.
But I think his point is you do that with the commodities.
Yeah,
you don't do that with the custom because you're going to get burned badly. Right, that's a lot of work you're buying yourself into. If you do that with the commodities, there's
well, that's hopefully what we give back to the Wardley side is that
that might not be quite right, but
but at least from the other Chris's input last week is that the event-driven approach to designing these systems really lowers that cost. So we change some of that cost part of that equation, which we're trying to test here. So I think it's really good. I think it's I'm excited to start using it. As I said, our clients are really pushed to the solution side most of the time, and we don't have an opportunity to work with them on a Wardley map. However, it makes sense for them to kind of say, by the way, as you're doing this, have you looked at some of these things, and maybe if you map them onto a Wardley map and see where you are, kind of reverse engineer what they're doing with them to, especially if they come in, it's like, we have some, we really don't know what we're going to do in the, at next year or something, and say, well, let's have a lunch and we can talk about it, and you can get a napkin out and say, this is how I see what you're doing in your business from, being privy to implementing your solution and working with some of your clients. You can have that nice discussion about the fact that you do understand their space a lot more, and you can draw some conclusions for them. And if you start drawing a Wardley map on a napkin, that should take that conversation over lunch a lot further, I think, than just talking about what you saw on Netflix last night. So
I think one thing is, like, there's this Wardley map here, and then there's the implementation, and there's something in between, right, that gets us towards that measurable.
Yeah, that's the problem space defined as all your all that stuff with the lean whatever board and all that other stuff. That's standard, right? The novel things are Wardley maps and event modeling, right? Those are you get to that part at whatever point you want. But I think in terms of how we would approach our clients currently, we would this would be covering 95% of all of their needs. There's really nothing else that would have a bigger impact than these two diagrams, right? And we're going to continue to exercise that. The other thing I wanted to ask before Chris has to, we're right at 12:30. I don't want to disrespect his time, but the lines, we used curved lines, but all the Wardley maps I see have straight lines. Should we just switch to straight lines? Is this too messy?
That would be easier to read.
Okay, good. I will do that. It's really hard to focus on where everything's going. So thank you very much. Okay, so I will stop at this point because I do have work to do. I will publish this as soon as possible. I think it's really amazing to have done the 3 sessions together and to have Chris an expert in it, and to have had the other Chris has actually implemented this exact approach, this duality of event modeling and Wardley maps together with a very, very large project to show the success of both things together, how it really rescued a really large project. And we're talking 5% of the world's trading traffic, right? They did this and they turned a failed project around. You know, it was amazing. And it's really good to dive into the what happened in the boardroom in that company through the Wardley maps and explore it with our own project. So again, thank you very much, Chris. We're gonna have this published. I hope that you can use snippets of it if you want. I can send you a link, and it will be really fun for us to use it. And I hope you can use it too for showing people, you know, this particular domain, at least as an example. Maybe it's a good example of how you teach people like us how to do something right, especially if we're stuck in the solution space, right?
You didn't require any training. You did
Well,
it.
I appreciate it, but I'm not as confident as you in that yet. I mean, yet. We'll see. We'll give it another few months.
Adam, one question or ask actually. Could you introduce me to the other Chris? It doesn't have to be right now, but basically, if he's
I'm going to set that up right after. I think it's a huge missed opportunity, and I think if you have that test case, it'll go a long way, because that was a really large project. So
yeah, so that would be interesting. I mean, even recording a short interview with him about how he used it together, that could be a valuable exercise.
Maybe you can tell me your times that you're available, and we'll do that. But I do have to go, unfortunately, right now. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you on Tuesday, and we'll start to actually implement some of these things and connect the two, and we'll hopefully have more interesting conclusions for everyone. So thanks again, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
It was really cool.
Real pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.